Actress Bijou Philips has been accused of body shaming and homophobic harassment by former co-star Daniel Franzese. In a Facebook post, he said in part the following, quote, "She body shamed me and ridiculed me about my sexuality and physically assaulted me. I was scared and closeted and feared for my job. It started with a lot of eye rolling whenever we spoke, but escalated when we did a cast shoot for the poster. As we were shooting, she kept loudly saying, 'Are you gay?' and laughing while the producers and photographer did nothing to stop her." This was on a movie that they worked on, which was called Bully, sort of ironically, back in the day. You may know the actor because he played Damien in the very popular film Mean Girls. And he's opening up about his experience with Bijou Philips. He goes on to talk about how he did reluctantly tell her that he was bi, and at that time he wasn't really familiar with his sexuality. He was still figuring it out as someone who is queer. Like, that's an incredibly personal journey and you don't want people outing you. And then when he even made that admission that he was bi to her, she said, "Ha, he's bi." And then when I showed up to work the next day in front of the crew, she was screaming, "Oh look, the bi guy is here." He also tells a really uncomfortable and awful story about when he had to take off his shirt during one of the scenes and he was still pretty uncomfortable with his body and she just yelled, "Ew, gross," when he took off his shirt for the scene. Then when she was asked to apologize to him, in part for this apology, she said that he reminded her of Carney Wilson, and then she grabbed my nipple and twisted it hard through my shirt and laughed and walked away. I stopped talking to her for the rest of filming, but she still was messing with him and bullying him on set. Apparently, she kicked him so hard in the back of the head that at some point in time that he thought that he might have had a concussion. He also acknowledges that she could be a totally different person today, that they haven't spoken, they're not in contact. He just wanted to shed light on a dark memory, especially with all these actors and people working in Hollywood coming forward, sharing their stories of misconduct on the set. He wanted to lend his voice to that. Now, the Hollywood Reporter was unable to reach Bijou Philips for an official statement, but she did speak with TMZ, and what she told TMZ was, "Those years are a blur. I was a teenager and reckless in my behavior. I know Daniel to be a trustworthy and honest person, and to find out through social media that I was not the friend I thought I was to him made me so sad." She also says that she is mortified of her behavior and wants everyone to know that she is not homophobic. She says, quote, "I have nothing but love for the LGBTQ community and Daniel." And then Daniel went on to his Twitter and says that he forgives Bijou Philips. He doesn't know her private story, and he just wanted to shed light on what was a really unfortunate and awful experience for him. All right, Amir, it's another story coming out of Hollywood of just people behaving awfully, terribly on set, really bad behavior. I think what was kind of interesting about hearing Daniel come forward is it seems like it was sort of a direct response to when Ellen Page came forward and talked about how traumatic it was when she was outed on set by Brett Ratner, and just bring to light people that might not understand that outing someone is awful, and it's not funny. It's not, you don't take that from someone. Right. Don't just sort of encroach on someone's own personal journey with their sexuality. So I think it's good that he's talking about that. I know that it's heavily stigmatized for men to come forward, so I really appreciate that he came forward. What was your response to this? I'm
so happy that this kind of behavior is finally, like, there's an outlet, which is basically social media and like this whole everyone coming out, that like people are actually starting to talk about it, and people's shitty behavior on movie sets are coming to light. Yeah. And it's something that we have all known has existed, and we just took it for granted. Like, oh, you go to Hollywood and you go on a film set, chances are there's gonna be some douchebag, whether it's a director or in this case another actor, that just behaves shitty, and that's just Hollywood, right? Like, some people are just like that and you're just gonna have to deal with it. But we're finally reaching a point where people have the confidence to stand up and do something about it.
Yeah, and I also think that unfortunately we hold Hollywood stars, actors, at this really high level, and we sort of forget that it's a job. What they're doing when they're on set, when they're acting, when that's their work, it is their job. So they should be behaving in a way that is appropriate in a work environment, so that everyone can have their best performance. Whether it's like the grips, the PAs, if you're an actor, director, best boy. Amir and I joke about best boys, we just think it's a funny title. So when it comes to all this misconduct, all this harassment, these allegations that are coming coming forward and people sort of want to qualify it and be like, well, it's not as bad as this, it's not as bad as this, it's not as bad as this, this is worse than this. I think like throw that out. It's all a fireable offense. If you did any of this shit at your own job, when I was working at a restaurant, if I did any of this, I would be fired. So it is okay for people to be fired for behaving very badly and making it difficult, sometimes impossible, for people to continue working in the same way, for other people that come forward to be fired and lose their own jobs. We have to stop viewing it in these rose-colored, it's Hollywood, it's so glamorous. Like, no, this is a job that people are doing. People are just trying to get—
the payoff is it's gonna be okay because you're gonna be a movie star at the end of the day. So like, you put up with this shitty behavior. It's never worth it.
Yeah, I think that the
ends don't justify the means. And like, what was I gonna say? Just 2000 was like a way different time. Like, I try to put the context into it, but—
Right, because this movie was filmed in 2000, is that correct?
Right. I mean, I don't know. Well, what else do you have to say about it?
No, I mean, just that it was a different time and that there wasn't the access to social media. So I think that sometimes it feels diminishing to say, because when Bijou Philips said she had to find out through social media that I was not the friend that I thought I was to him, made her sad. Thank God that we have access to social media though, because otherwise what would this have been in 2000? His publicist would have released a statement and then for some reason it would have seemed more calculating and it's more cold and callous. That Daniel can come forward on his own terms and express himself in his own way when he feels so ready to, I think is actually a really beautiful and profound way that we're seeing that change. Social media is shitty in a lot of ways, but allowing people to come forward and share their own stories in a personal way that is authentic to them is not one of the ways that it's bad.
What's crazy is that there wasn't one producer, one director that was willing to stand up and like do something about it.
Well, there were some. There were some.
You talked about Michael Pitt and some of the other actors were standing up.
Yeah, well, and one of the co-stars in the film, Nick Stahl, who Phillips was dating at the time, convinced her to apologize. So there were people that stepped up, but it wasn't enough that this behavior was perpetuated for so long.
There's a hierarchy when it comes to filmmaking. Like, producers and directors, they need to be held like more accountable for these kind of things and what happens on the set. If something like this is happening, you have to stand up and say something about it. Doesn't matter who the fucking actor is, how big of a star they are.
Right, because at this time—
show some fucking leadership and then people will follow like an example from that.
I completely agree with you, and I'm just thinking that at this time, they probably thought these stories are never gonna get out.
And
no one's
not
gonna
only
find
that,
out about
but like
this.
in 2000, like the society's view on being gay, being bi was so fucking different. Go back and watch any comedies up to like the year 2010, and they're just still making homophobic jokes and like making caricatures out of gay people.
Yeah, and that's also heartbreaking too, because I think we're looking at this story now with the eyes that we have in 2017 with your fucking gay co-host. So it's easy to be like, oh, like she outed him, that's horrible. But really like marinate on that. It's horrible now, it's horrible at any point in time. It's really horrible in 2000, especially like when he's not ready to come out, and then to be teased for like.
Yeah, that's what happens when society evolves and cultural norms change. I mean, we look back to like another example is like how we would treat animals 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 100 years ago, versus now. It just happens kind of over a few years where like all of a sudden it's like, whoa, we've been doing this for a long time. We've been talking about things a certain way that's not okay.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting.
I mean, like it's.
I know what you're saying, but
I'm not trying to equate like what we're doing with sexual assault with that, but like I'm talking about how certain things for like throughout human history have been a certain way. And it only takes like a little bit of time for society to look in and be like, wow, this is really fucked up. We've been doing it for a long time, but like it has to change. Yeah,
to wake up and recognize that we need to engage with our humanity a little bit more. We want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. Did you see this story trending? What do you make of all these allegations coming forward? Yeah, we'll just talk about it in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and we will see you next time on Pop Trigger.